If nobody minds, I'm just going to record this from this point forward. Hopefully that's all right. And if anybody's missed out, then we can give them a copy later. So, as I said, we've known these guys for a long time. So what they've come up with, they're based in Switzerland. They are a very, very knowledgeable integrator, seller of kit. They know exactly what they want out of a product. And as CVT, we only want to represent those kinds of products. We really like this and we're excited by it. Now, one of the main things, just try and get rid of that one. Oh, there we go. One of the main features that this range brings is the digital management system. Now, I'm going to show you this in a minute, so I'm not going to read every word out on the page, but it's an excellent diagnostic tool, and I'll show you why. Active camera tracking, so you can actually ping the devices that are on the end of the cable, and if they don't respond, you can reboot. This saves time on site and engineers time just going to, I'm sure everybody sent engineers to site to power things off and on. Consumption control, I'm going to show you that. Coordinated power up procedure, I'll show you that too live on the switch. So if the mains goes down, you can actually delay each port powering up so that you don't get a massive inrush current. The big thing about these switches that is different, and I'm just trying to use the tools here, I'm still a bit of a novice on this, is this jumbo frame part. Jumbo frames are not normally associated with 100 megabits. They're normally associated at a gig. If you Google it, that's what Wikipedia will say. But most cameras actually establish at 100 meg link. The payload of the IP frame in most video cases is bigger than the standard frame. So this is why these cameras actually perform at 100 meg with jumbo frames. So many times we put these switches in and people say, God, the video was excellent. We did it recently in Cardiff, in some government buildings. And of course, you know, the switches that they had in weren't designed for video. They just weren't. They were just old network switches. Large backbone, which that's very important to the switching fabric to be able to handle the video, because again, if you're going to put in a, I hate to use the word, but a cheap D-Link type switch, then you know that's what you're going to have a problem possibly with video. So let's not dwell too much on that. Let me get back. Right. So what we're saying is, a data switch, a standard data switch, is not the same as this switch, as a specifically designed for CCTV switch, and we're going to show you why in a minute. So some of the things that you need to think about these switches more as enterprise standard switches, but at a better price. But we can talk price at the end, or Sarah can email information as and when this is of interest to you. The things that you would expect, login certification, disabling ports if someone unplugged, all the things to prevent people you know, connecting and getting access to the network. Barox have what they call smart sticky. Cisco have sticky MAC, and there's a description of it there. Dynamically learning the MAC address and not allowing anybody else in. The standard stuff like access control list, tacks and radius, and multiple view control. So there's lots of security features designed in. Barox are also working towards this standard. I don't know if you know it. I'm sure some of you do. They're ensuring that the products and their training and that their services meet this standard, the Information Security Management System standard, and that will be completely in place by the end of this year, including training programs. Because ultimately the weak point is the people putting in the equipment and not adhering to all the things we talk about when we talk about security on the product, passwords, access control, stuff like that. The switch, Barox ethos is that the switch is a holistic or an integral part of the system. It's not just a piece of hardware that you hang on the outside of any system. And what we mean by that is they've actually designed it with a plug-in in mind for Milestone and also Siemens surveillance, because Siemens use the Milestone platform, and then they'll look at others too. But what this means is that the features and benefits of this switch can be fed through to the VMS, and we'll see a little bit of that in a second. Yeah, this is a funny word up here. I don't know. Ignore. I'm just gonna mark it. Oops, not working. The bit up here that says analyze data, ignore that, it's German. It's supposed to be analyzer, so don't worry about that. Anyway, the important feature is that of all the barox switches, there are two PSUs, one for system power and one for PoE power. So when we specify a PoE budget as, you know, whatever it is, 720 watts, 480, whatever that number is, you have that available. You don't have to subtract any system power. What you get, and I'm going to show you live on the switches in about 5 minutes or less, you actually get a topology map that looks like this over here. And what that does is, in the case of milestone, it can be fed through to the, this is the milestone interface we're looking at here. And as you can see it there. What you can do is you can get access directly into the features of the switch via the milestone interface. I'm going to show you a little video in a second that just sort of explains that a bit better than I can. So one of the things, and I don't know if he's on the call, but one of the guys on the call today has actually played with this. I don't know how far he got with the milestone plugin, but you are able to have action buttons. In other words, those error messages, those SNMP messages that come through, you're able to draw overlays on the screen, like you see there, port 3 on port. You can basically design your own button that pops up when there's an error, so that the user, you know, the guy sitting in the control room, can decide whether he wants to power cycle the camera or you can, you know, some other action. Just going to play you a 2-minute video that explains that better than I can, because I don't have a milestone interface. Once it decides to play. Apologies, I don't know what's going on with that. It's not working very well. I'll try it again. I think I'll leave it at that size. Right, I hope that was visible. I've muted myself there. No, I'm unmuted. Brilliant. Okay, so just to go through the rest of the features. So this is what you expect to see. Now, when I show you the interface, you'll see that the main difference between this and a standard switch is the digital management system or suite. You get an automatic topology map as shown on the screen there. And I'll drill into that in more detail when we go live. You're able to have, obviously, rings, different types of ring. I can show you that on the switch. What you'll see here is the number one, actually, when I set this up and took a screenshot, it told me that there was an IP conflict. In other words, what I had was, I had two 1.1s. So quite a useful tool. You are able to drop either a, well, in fact, both. You can have a floor plan, as seen on the bottom, or you can have a map, as shown on the top, and then you can drag your bits and pieces on there, your cameras and your switches, and save the location. I'll show you that when we go live in a second. We also have a cable diagnostic tool, so you're able to say, you know, test between point A and point B. I'm going to show you that as well. Here's the port programming packet size. You'll see on the right-hand side the IP frames of 9600, which we do as standard when the switch comes out. The individual port power-up delay I spoke about. So when you first get you don't get an inrush of current, you can literally offset these. I'll show you that too. This is the automatic ping function where you can put, it's a bit blurred on this screen, but you can actually ping, you know, camera 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you don't get a response, you can repower it automatically. Quite a nice time saver, I think. And basically, before I go live, just to say there is an extensive range. I'm going to be showing you some of those now, you know, via the camera feed. But as you can imagine, the interface that you're going to see is the same on all of the managed switches, and most of them in this range are managed, and layer 2, layer 3 functionality also. So let's get out of this, and let me show you live. Hopefully, let's get the right screen. Hopefully this will come through now. So I am logging into the switch now. This is the interface that you see. Looking down the left-hand side, you'll see that you have configuration and monitor. Well, obviously monitor speaks for itself. This is where you just look at things and don't change them. On the configuration side, some of the things we spoke about, like port configuration and frame size, there you go. Ports description, you can put your names on it, the usual stuff, the security that we spoke about, the security levels that you're able to put in to stop unauthorized access, the usual things you would see on a switch, like the type of spanning tree and ring technology. The big differences are the PoE. You are able to say what the maximum power level is on here if you want to limit them. You are able to switch things on and off if you want to create a profile. I mean, I don't know who would want to do that, but it's possible that you want to turn cameras off and save power during a specific time. Here's the auto checking piece that we spoke about. So up here on the ping IP address, I can actually say camera 192.168.1.10, ping it 3 times, and then reboot it if I want to do that. So again, could save a lot of time on site. Now, something new, which I only heard about recently, and is new on the switch, is the ability to reset the PoE chip on the end device without actually powering the device on and off. Something that people are asking for, and something that's been included. And then the usual stuff, VLANs, you know, the quality stuff, mirroring estimate, all of that. So that's the normal sort of switching stuff, but with the features in that are being specifically put in for CCTV users. The big difference in this product, when you look at on the menu here, alongside switch, it says DMS. Now this is the bit that makes the thing different. So First of all, it'll tell me I've got a little demo system set up here that I'm going to show you in a minute via a camera feed. So it tells me all the devices. But the graphical monitoring part, this is automatically done every time you switch on and connect. So there's my network right now. I've got a flight case by the side of me with 3 switches in it and 2 cameras plugged in. So that's what it looks like. I'm connected to the switch on the left-hand side. At the very top here, you'll see that a non-on VIF, it's my PC actually, is connected. So it doesn't know what icon to automatically put in there. If I actually click on it and just say it's a PC, I can assign an icon to it. So that's quite a nice feature. So that's how it's connected. If I just want to pull out, for example, cameras, I can do that. If I want to look at the switches and see how they're configured, I can see that I have a ring here, and that the middle part of 48, the bit in red is my blocked part of the ring. So that's quite a nice feature. But the main thing with this that we think is very cool is that, you know, sometimes you drop these switches into a network and people don't even know what some of the devices are. I dropped one of these once into a 1,000 camera system in London, and it drew them a topology map like this, and they were going, oh my God, what camera is that? What's that? And they were finding devices they didn't know they had. But the beauty of this really is that I can click on the camera and I can log straight into it. So it's going to log me straight into the camera GUI. And there is a live feed of my test setup by the side of my bench as we speak. So as you can see down the bottom here, I have an SFP switch. And then here I have a 48-port PoE switch. And then at the top, I've just got an 8-port PoE switch. And they're just all looped together as a ring. So what I can then do, again, which can be, track this. Well, what you're seeing there is an error. And that is because I've set something on here. What I've done, I've actually set a maximum megabit level of 5. And you can see it's at 7, 8, 9, 10. What happens when you do that is you get warnings that, again, you could feed through to your milestone or your receiving surveillance. So a nice feature. Diagnostics will just give me a cable. Okay, so that's basically how that part of the GUI works. Also, I can have a floor plan that I can just import this image, and then I can drop things like my camera, my switch onto the drawing, save the position if I want to do that, and then, you know, any faults I can just log in and I can click straight onto that and I'll get back to a live feed. So that's quite nice. The map view, now this is going to come up. I'm working from my home office today, so I haven't paid for a map. Giving away my my home details here. So again, likewise, you can drop your cameras on a town centre scheme, save it, and just log straight into your cameras and switches, you know, from wherever you are, and see what part of the network is working and what isn't working. And this is just where you would load up your floor images. You have a bit more diagnostics in here, where you can just say test that cable, test that cable, test that cable. And this is just a traffic monitor. So all in all, I think the main difference in this switch is that people that are video experts have thought about things that cause you a problem and try to give you tools to get around those issues. So all in all, that is the main part of the presentation. So where are we at? We're about 25 minutes. That's good. So if I actually drawings, stop sharing. if anybody wants to throw any messages in the chat window, that would be good. I think we got a bit too many people to have everybody talking. So I'll unmute Sarah as well, so she can add anything.
Thank you, Chris. Yes, if anybody wants to ask any questions now or obviously later, I will be sending out just an email with information on this presentation and some documents that may be of interest detailing about barox and some press releases that they've recently had published. So obviously feel free to get in touch with us after the event as well. And if you want to see the switch in more detail, we do have some demo units available too.
Okay. I can't see anything in the window, but I'll leave the, I mean, you can email us or you can leave some information in here if you want questions answered, but probably if you've got our email address, it's probably easy to drop us an email, Sarah, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll send an email out to everybody later today.
Okay. Well, okay. I hope that was of use. We're that's pretty good. We're just short of the half an hour, so I won't take up any more of your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.